Thank you, Chair. Dear committee members, good afternoon. Thank you for inviting me to testify. I represent the Network of Azerbaijani Canadians, a grassroots community organization advocating for Canadian Azerbaijanis. Earlier today, the committee heard from 4 Armenian witnesses and an expert who happens to be Armenian. I think it's very symbolic that the other side needs to present its point of view in 5 iterations. The Azerbaijani point of view will deliver the important facts that are missing from an inflamed narrative. One witness shall suffice to deliver the truth. I've come to speak here at a very difficult time for the South Caucasus region, at a time when Russia's Vladimir Putin is trying to engineer yet another crisis and crack the fragile peace process between Azerbaijan and Armenia. It is therefore very important to pause and look at what is not being said, so we can put the situation into the context of what is actually taking place in the region. I'll talk about 3 important timelines. The first period covers the time when Armenia encouraged irredentism and ethnic separatism in Azerbaijan in the last years of the Soviet Union. Right after the collapse of the USSR, the conflict turned into a full-scale war. The single mass atrocity of this conflict, the Khojaly massacre, was committed against the Azerbaijani civilians in the heart of Karabakh, where 613 people were killed overnight by Armenian troops. The war stopped in 1994, leaving about 15% of Azerbaijan's internationally recognized territories under Armenia's occupation. 700,000 indigenous Azerbaijani population of Karabakh ethnically cleansed from Karabakh and forced to live in IDP camps across the country. Speaking of refugees who were truly forgotten by the world, add to it another 200,000 Azerbaijanis from Armenia proper. Since then, for 26 years, there have been negotiations, or rather an imitation of negotiations, with Armenia taking no steps to withdraw from the illegally occupied Azerbaijani territories. The second timeline of events to look at was when the war erupted in September 2020 and saw Azerbaijan liberate most of its territories that were illegally occupied by Armenia. On November 9th, after Azerbaijan took control of the key terrain and historic Azerbaijani town of Shusha, Armenia agreed to sign a statement by which it provided a schedule to withdraw its troops from the rest of the occupied Azerbaijani territories. Unfortunately, some clauses of the said agreement remain unimplemented by Armenia, which I'm happy to elaborate if time permits. Based on the mentioned statement, a Russian peacekeeping contingent is deployed in the region until November 2025. Since then, the parties have been engaged in peace talks. Last year in October in Prague, Azerbaijan and Armenia signed a declaration confirming their commitment to the recognition of each other's territorial integrity and sovereignty. It is at that point Putin's regime parachuted an Armenian-Russian oligarch, Ruben Vardanyan, to Karabakh to destabilize the situation and derail the peace process. And this brings me to my final point, where we are now. The said individual, who is by the way sanctioned by Ukraine, quickly took power as the so-called state minister within Azerbaijan's Karabakh region, where the Russian peacekeeping contingent is temporarily deployed. Since December 12th, Azerbaijani activists have been demonstrating on the road that the Armenians in Karabakh have been using to connect with Armenia proper. The demonstrations are against the illegal exploitation of gold and copper mines in the Karabakh region of Azerbaijan, not civilians or any humanitarian transport. Currently, Azerbaijani activists are controlling the road to prevent the transfer of illegally extracted gold resources and weapons. I reiterate that it's not blocked to any humanitarian access. This is evident by the many vehicles that continue passing through daily. More than 1,000 vehicles and trucks have passed through the road in the past month and a half. This is the latest information. While the current situation on the Lachin road is not at all where Azerbaijanis and Armenians should be, we question the motives of those amplifying easily refutable narratives and put forward by a Russia-backed oligarch. We question the motives of those who have not once spoken in favor of the peace process and the signing of a peace agreement, even once, but have instead been regurgitating hateful pro-war propaganda. Our Azerbaijani Canadian community stands firmly against Russia's interference into the South Caucasus region, so Azerbaijan and Armenia can continue the peace negotiations leading to a peace treaty. Therefore, we urge our Canadian government to question whether the narratives it amplifies are A, fact-based or manipulated, and B, whether they will lead to lasting peace in the region or aid the region to returning to Russia's sphere of influence. Thank you very much.